So the first question which was mailed to me was, how was your entire experience of being a founder and shaping such an organized and prestigious technical institution? And what is one funny incident that you will never forget which happened while you were a director? Yeah. Okay. And is okay. Now, is it better for me to be on earphones or this is better? Is it good? Okay, sounds good. Okay, so I'll repeat the question.
Yeah, repeat the question.
Okay. So question 1, how was your entire experience of being founder director and shaping such an organized and prestigious institution? And what was one funny incident that you can narrate? Okay, so this was the first question. And PK, I'll keep you on phone, so in case anything goes wrong, you can tell me. Yeah. So I'll put you on speaker on the phone so I can keep the phone down.
Yeah.
Okay. So how was the entire experience? So I mean, there is no doubt this was an incredible experience to build an institution from scratch. And as I used to say to myself and my family, that look, so few people in the world ever get a chance to do this, and it is just incumbent upon me to do it as good a job as I can. And that's what I tried to do. So, and thankfully things have worked out very nicely. So we have a fine institution coming. Is that okay, PK?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So I guess it is just a combination of wanting to do something good, hard work, and as I always say, keep at it, keep doing things. You make some mistakes, keep improving things. As long as the curve is positive, you'll always go for it. Now, what is the one funny incident? I really thought about it. I had many. It was a good time. There were many times we laughed a lot and all that, whether it's faculty meetings, student meetings and all that. But I can't remember one particular incident. So what I thought I'll do is, somehow there's one small incident which is stuck in my memory. So I'll just narrate it. It's not funny. So when we were 2012, when we moved into our campus here, so I was the first one to move. It was very difficult, no power. So I set up my office and I said, I will sit here and that's the only way to get it done. And then faculty started moving and there's lots of teething challenges. So I was really feeling very down. And one day I was just standing and looking out from that common area on the top floor. And one of the students just came and he was also looking around. And he said, "Oh, sir, it's such a beautiful campus." And here I was feeling in the dumps that, look, where are we? Things are not working. And it really, really just transformed me. I mean, I realized how much the power of a positive sentiment by a student is on me. So I somehow that has stuck in my mind. Okay. Shall I move to the second question? PK, I'm moving to the second one.
Yeah. So, let's do this. Is there any comments that everybody's asking?
Okay. All right. So shall I wait?
Yeah, no. I think that they're all just doing thumbs up, but the answers take their heart.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, second question. As an engineering student, you must have had some really interesting college memories. Would you like to share any particular memory that stands out? Number one, what mistakes did you do in your student life? And who do you think has more fun, IIT Kanpur students or IIIT Delhi students? I think the last one is very hard, so I'm going to skip that portion. I don't really know what how much fun you guys have. But let me answer the first one. As an engineering student, so our batch had one very unique incident which people remember 40 years from now. And that was, we used to do a lot of betting. And the betting would happen on what is called anda coupons. So, eggs were on extra coupon and people would bet on anda coupons and egg coupons. And there was this one guy, a good friend of mine, still a good friend of mine, who was par excellence in winning the bets. So there was this Mr. Hercules contest which was being held where all bodybuilders from across the country had come. And he had put a bet that he will go and participate in this contest. And there were like hundreds and thousands, maybe thousands of anda coupons betted on him. And this guy goes, because there's no entry barrier, he goes and he admits himself into this competition. And then when when the people come on the stage, now you can imagine there is these 7, 8 big guys with big muscles, big legs, big shoulders, and there is this puny little guy in between. And then they ask you, show your biceps, and then he will turn around and everybody showing the bicep. He will also follow and turn around. And I can tell you, I think the whole institute had a scream at that point. It was probably the incident in my batch. It was just very good. We later on created, when I was a faculty in our 25th anniversary, where I got some students to create a video, animated video for this. So that was great. Now, what did you do? What mistakes did you do in this student life? I mean, there are many standard mistakes of not learning as much as one would like to in retrospect. But I think one thing, if I really have to say, so first of all, it was a great student life. I don't think I can ask for anything more. I learned a lot. I grew a lot. We learned sports. We had great fun. We would go out for late night movies. We will go out for anda parathas, aloo parathas at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock on bicycles. IIT, outside IIT, we will go to this chungi where truck guys would come. We'll go at 4 o'clock and then come and, all that. So great stuff. Completely enjoyable. So I think the only thing I would say is that I feel that I wish I had taken more effort to learn more about humanities kinds of issues. More like art and music and poetry. There were facilities there. There's some people who are good. Things that give you more a personal joy. So while sports and culture, we did trekking, all those are good. I sometimes feel the lack if I had sort of known more music, understanding, and more cultural and poetry. So I think, focused on just this kind of learning that is needed for jobs and career, that was the focus while we were still doing sports and everything. But this kind of learning while there were opportunities, I think we missed out. And later on it gets kind of, you're always running on your career. Masters, PhD, faculty, publish, write, this, that. So, okay. Next question. So, PK, you will warn me if there's anything. Yeah.
Somebody is asking John _777, sir, what was your CGPA?
Oh, CGPA. So it was 8.7 or something like that. I don't remember. It was above 8.5 is what you get. I think distinction or something. So that's what I was. And to be honest, I'm sure I'm sure this would be this thing. I was not a very studious student. And like many of you, there was a whole group of us, and we would also the peak study would happen before the midterms and before the quiz, before the exams. So it was no different then. And wasn't a very studious student, so would get a few, mostly A's and B's. So that's how you end up in 8.7.
Professor Jalote, just one thing is that when I repeat the question here on the...
Oh, I should also repeat it.
You should also repeat it.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, so the next question is, what gives you the inspiration to think out of the box and achieve excellence where most people fail? Well, first of all, thank you. There is a lot of positives implied in the question, so I thank you for the sentiment. But I thought about it. One thing I feel, and I've stated it in some of my interactions with students, I really feel there are, one can divide people in two groups by just one parameter, which is whether someone takes initiative or not, whether you have the initiative or not. And I look back right from whether it was student days, first job, second job, various other things. I think somehow I had this habit of taking initiative. Somehow this was part of my personality of, you don't have to wait, this has to be done. You start doing something. So I would write for newspapers. I would do some analysis when I was a faculty, which was not even computer science research. As a management trainee, I was supposed to do something and I did some productivity study, etc., etc. And same I remember at Infosys and Microsoft. So I think that's part of my personality. And I think that has really helped, that you keep taking initiatives. Keep taking initiatives and of course, by definition, initiatives mean you're trying to do something worthwhile, something meaningful. And I think that has helped, along with an ability to conceptualize, because otherwise you keep taking initiative, you don't go anywhere. So you need some conceptualization about what you want to do, why you want to do it, and so on. And I've been fortunate in that also, some abstract thinking ability and conceptualization. In fact, when I was at Infosys for 2 years as vice president, within 2 years they gave me this best managerial award or something, and I was told my main strength was conceptualization, which of course people in the industry often lack. So in academics, that's not very much lack, but that's there. So I think that is the conceptualization and taking initiative, of course, coupled with work hard, has always helped. And that undoubtedly helped here, with a lot of luck. Where do you see IIIT Delhi in 10 years from now? The first 10 years, excellent foundation has been laid. In administrative style, in setting the values, whether it's the values with its PhD students stay, whether it's the values, every undergraduate batch graduating will say in its graduating, what do you, in the word cloud, deadlines, projects, and all that are always high. These are values in that. Faculty aspiring to do great job, students aspiring highly. So I think that all the good foundations have been set, good students, excellent faculty, and so on. But I still see, there are challenges ahead, and a young institution is still too young. We can't just sort of rest on this foundation. We have to keep doing more, and I'm sure both students, faculty, administration, leadership will keep doing it. But institutions in India, as you would know, they go down far more easily. Taking it up or keeping it where it is requires a lot of effort. So I think continued effort, continued vigilance by students, faculty, administration will be, no doubt about it. But future is good because the foundations we've all collectively laid is good. What do you think about entrepreneurship? How important is entrepreneurship in comparison to research? Okay, so I'm extremely clear on that. The first two missions of a university, research-led university, is education and research. Everything else comes secondary. Now, there is linkages between research, education, and entrepreneurship, which we should leverage, but the goal of the institution should remain education and entrepreneurship. So institute should not measure itself in how many companies it has formed, but it can measure itself by saying how many good technical researchers and people we've created who then went on to become entrepreneurs. So as an institute, I would like to focus on the core, namely education and research, but entrepreneurship can ride on them. And these days, it's sort of needed by the society. We need to create more value for the society, and that's what we are doing, and that's the right approach. It should not become the centerpiece at all. It should ride on the two centerpieces. What are your main interests outside work? What is your favorite movie, TV serial, music, artist? Okay, so outside interests, outside work, I must say the last, many of them had suffered in the last 10 years. I wasn't able to devote time, but I do like to listen to music, in particular ghazals I was very fond of, and old Hindi music songs. I'm a reasonable amateur bird watcher, which I used to go more often, but still I hope to restart that. And I am a certified scuba diver, but again, one hasn't done too much. My daughter, who learned 15, 20 years after I did, she's done many times more. So reading, yeah. I used to read a lot. Again, 10 years, much less reading. I'm back into reading some both fiction and some non-fiction. So that has always been. Favorite movie, favorite artist would be, of course, ghazal singers like Jagjit Singh, of course, but Mehndi Hasan, and then Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, and some old time singers, whether it's Hemant Kumar or Kishore Kumar. Favorite movie, that's kind of hard to. But some of the recent ones that you would have seen, whether it's Three Idiots or Wednesday, these have been good. And this movie about this jailbreak in English, that has been that's one of the top films. The name is slipping my mind. That has been very good. So I've watched a fair number of. I used to watch a lot of English films as well as Hindi films. In our days, in student days, it was mostly Hindi films. But after graduating and in my graduate studies, I watched a lot of Western films, and that. And now, of course, some TV serials. We watched Homeland a lot. We watched old serial which we're watching, West Wing. Me and my wife watch. So drama kind of things and some comedy. Owing to the fact that some of us have seen you jogging on campus, what importance do you feel health plays in our lives? So if you just read literature on well-being and anything like that, and experience-wise, there is no doubt that exercise-based healthy living is extremely important, not just for your physical health, but also for your mental and emotional health. I still think that, when the days when you're down or when you're really tensed up, I think going for a jog or some vigorous exercise is, just gets you out. And I remember in my PhD days, like in anyone else's PhD, there were times when, paper gets rejected or critical comments from somebody and you're really, really down. You really don't know whether you finish your PhD. So I remember I used to go and swim for a mile. And the person who came out of the swimming pool was a very different person than the person who went in the pool. So I think it's very good. I've restarted playing squash after a long time. I still am not regular, but we played a couple of times now that we have the squash courts. What are you doing nowadays and after retiring from the post of director? So I was on leave, sabbatical, and now on leave without pay. So there were two main goals. One was to just chill a little bit. The last few years were very, very intense for me. But there was a project also. I started writing a book based on my experience of building an institution. And I'm happy to share, just recently I completed the first draft about a month or so ago. And I'm further happy to share, I just approached 2 or 3 publishers, and at least one of them has already said they are interested, and another one has said they are likely to be interested. So I'm now, actually this lockdown, I'm using this as an opportunity to do the final revision of the book, which I can then hand over to them. It's actually called Building Research Universities in India. So you will hear more about it once it actually comes out. It's still not this thing. So there was a project, and I traveled extensively, both, not extensively, but long travels. Some of you might know, first 1 month on leave, we just took off to Goa and rented a nice place and just chilled. Then for a month I was in Australia. Some of it was working. I was visiting these research centers in higher education. Then I spent a couple of weeks in US, again visited some places on higher education. So that was half work. I was working on the book, and half we would travel along. So that's what I'm doing right now. That book is going on, and then there are a couple of university projects, new university projects being conceptualized more in the private sector that I'm helping with. I mean, some of you may have heard with, the Ashoka equivalent, Plaksha, I'm helping with them. Then, there is a Nalanda 2.0 or University of the Future, the conceptualization. I'm on their advisory board. So I'm trying to help use this experience to see the new institutions that are coming up, whether I can share some insights which they can then perhaps use to come up with a good institution. Every institution that comes up is a contribution to society. Students will go and study there. So any help, anything that can help the institution become better at education and research is going to have so much multiplier effect by so many, all the students learning well. And I'm convinced that unless you put the right foundations in an institution, it's very hard to take an institute in the right direction. It's possible to take a good institution down, but it's much, much harder if the foundations are wrong to take it on the right side. So that's where I'm doing a little bit of other work besides my own work. That's all I have. So PK, I'll just wait till if in case there is any question. Otherwise, we can just call it a good night.
Yeah. From Jalote, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 questions that are noted down in my paper.
So you can read them out. I will. Yeah. So you read them out. If I want to answer, I will say it. And then, yeah.
How I to answer.
Yeah. Oh, okay. First company. So the question is, what was my first company job? So that's interesting. Actually, so I was hired in ITC as a management trainee. ITC used to be one of the most coveted job in our time. And they would hire 3-4 people across the country each year. And some of you would know Mr. Yogi Deveshwar, who was the chairman for a long, long time. He was then a general manager of the unit in Chennai, Madras at that time. So I was hired as a management trainee, and I joined in their Tiruvuttur facility in outside of Chennai. And I was there for a couple of months and doing reasonably well. It's a very great company. But then I got this assistantship or scholarship from Penn State. So then I left that job and went. Otherwise, I would have been a corporate manager. Yeah. All right. Okay, so the question is, it looks like you did photography when you were in IIT Kanpur. How was your experience? Right. So for 1 year, I was the secretary of the photography club. So of course, those days, it was very different. We used to have dark rooms and those enlargers to make prints. Then you would buy paper and the chemicals and all that. And I still and we would participate in these contests, local contests like in cultural festivals, etc. So I still have some of my photographs from that time. I was hoping to scan them and put it on my homepage sometime, but that's something to happen. Yeah. So it was all black and white, of course, at that time. And the institute had a camera which we would use because most of us wouldn't. My brother had a camera which I would sometimes use, but most of us didn't have these good SLRs which were needed. Yeah, go ahead, PK. Oh, first of all, so the question is what drives you to be positive. So first of all, please don't be what's the word? I'm not always positive. There are times I'm very, very weak and very down and very negative. So there is no doubt about it. But I guess this whole project of institution, I guess there was this belief that something good can be created. So, but overall, life has been kind and things have generally initiative. As I mentioned, I take initiative and most of the times they have sort of panned out. So I guess that gives some positivity that things can be done, things can happen. But as I said, please do not think, that, it's always hard when you see a person only for short times. You think, hey, look, this person is so positive and so on. That's not the case. Like everybody else, I have down periods. I have periods when I don't want to do anything, and I have periods when you feel really, hey, look, what will happen? But thankfully, those periods are not too much. Yeah, go ahead. Shawshank Redemption, that's right. The Old Man and the Sea was very good. I've read it a couple of times. I can tell you a favorite story, short story. Please go and read it. It's on the net. Khushwant Singh, The Portrait of a Lady, or I think Sparrows or something like that. It is Khushwant Singh's ultimate. That is one of the best short stories I've read. 5-6 pages. Read it. But I can't offhand remember, but this was Old Man and the Sea was a very, very good book. And I'll have to think of some other ones that would... recently I've read some of these non-fiction ones which have been very good. Think Fast and Slow was very good. Sapiens is very, very good. Yeah. Oh, JE rank. I was fortunate to have a very good rank. Some 220 something. So I was, in those days there was no computer science. Electrical is what was the most sort of this thing. And I was fortunate to get electrical in IIT Kanpur. So it was good enough to get that. See, the student stress, I don't consider that as much of a stress. See, I think I understand that grades, etc., are far more important. Grades, career are far more important. But let me digress a little. Let me tell you when I was a student, we were in 5-year program, right? Till about 3rd year, we had no clue, zero clue as to what happens after graduation. And when we reached 4th year, that is 1 year before, that's the time we found out that there's something called graduate studies where you can apply abroad. believe you me, we didn't even know that there is a possibility of going abroad for higher studies, right? So I'm just saying that kind of thing just helped us not have any stress about future. But why I'm saying this is that, look, if you entered an institution like IIIT, so some students who come to me on one-to-one, that's what I tell. As long as you are doing decent academics, there is actually you are on to good career. You don't know what it is, but if you're going to want predictability, you'll always be under stress. So you're going to have a good career. So you can put the career issue at the back, at least for 2.5, 3 years. Well, maybe not 3, 2.5 years. Just learn and enjoy, and that itself will reduce. Hey, you get some B, some C. What is the big deal about it? Right? And some people are naturally good at studies. Some people take a little bit this thing. So I remember, many of us, we'll do very well in one semester. But then we said, hey, look, we're doing A's and B's, which is quite okay. So I think the part of, as a student, I think the stress we take, particularly for IIIT Delhi, I think we take unnecessary stress, because that's all about future thinking with, maybe too many options. I think for first 2-3 years, just don't worry about it. Future is already secured if you've entered IIIT Delhi and you're reasonably conscientious about your studies. That's all that is needed. The rest will all work out. Then, you will learn to deal with stress. Now I see students very first year, even before they come, they want to know where are the jobs, what are the packages, where do you go abroad? I mean, these are people who just completed 12th. So I think you're looking way too much ahead. And of course, nobody can look ahead too much. It will only cause stress. I think not, and I would say that please hold on. This was an informal interaction. Please hold on for formal announcement, because I haven't yet signed any contract. I'm sort of working with them. The title may even change, because the publishers sometimes say that. But hey, look, you guys, obviously the institute will be the first to know. We'll announce it. It is based on that. In my preface, the first paragraph is about how I came onto this job. So I think once I sign a contract and once it is finalized, I will at least make the preface be available on the institute webpage. So, because that explains the background, what it is about, why I wrote it, and what it is about. Okay, so MBA. MBAs. There was at one point a discussion in board for quite some time to whether we should create a business school and do an MBA. But you see but finally the thought was that, look, oftentimes technology and MBAs don't go very well. I mean, if you look at IITs have never been able to really seriously compete with IIMs in their MBA programs. Right? And with all due respect to MBAs, many of us felt that, and at undergraduate level, it doesn't have them. So for a host of reasons, MBA wasn't thought of as a good thing. Instead, we decided to add other dimensions: social sciences, design, biosciences, and there is a range of things that can be done that way. So bring in diversity of thought in campus, diversity of disciplines, but business, at least at that point, wasn't thought of as a good one. About pass-fail option, there were earlier some suggestions, some course pass-fail one can do. But you see, the thing is, if pass-fail only, the chances of pass-fail is that then people will do minimal effort to minimal effort. While you're stressed out about the grade, the reason why we need to push you through some work and so on is so you learn. Now, if you make pass fail, it's world over known. Students do not. They'll prioritize in a manner that you would not learn. And just think of it. You do data structures, you do algorithms, you do in pass fail. And then they ask you questions, it just is not a sound thing. First year, perhaps some of these courses can be made, but I don't think it really helps one way or the other. Right? You need to learn. And it is accepted that students, their mindset, and given the fact that you have to do 4, 5 courses, they will prioritize grades over other things. So just work out, if you can't handle it, I always advise students outside when, one-to-one, I would always say, hey, look, if you're not cut out for all A's and B's, don't worry about it. Try to get, some good, decent grade in the courses that you are good at and that you enjoy. And in the other ones, just do enough to get a decent, pass grade. You can always weave in a story and tell somebody, this case will always fly if you say, look, I got some C's and D's in these courses because I did not enjoy them. I did not like them. But hey, look, these courses I liked, I got A's and B's. And everybody would buy that story. Not story. Everybody would buy that narrative. So I think, you find ways to manage the work. It's not all that hard. And as I said, you please, it's all this hard is because you grade will lead to job will, all that kind. You guys have done so much calculation. Just for 2 years, 3 years, just learn whatever you can learn. You can't learn perfect. That's be it. So be it. Just those are, please forget about everything. Just have fun, enjoy, participate in clubs, and do your studies reasonably well as you can. Stress will go away anyway. Okay? Yeah. So send me mail. As with every faculty member, our mail IDs are online. You just search for it and send, and you'll see. Okay. Okay, so on the top right, there is this end. I'm asking you. You tell me when I'm done. Okay. Bye. Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you very much for thinking of wanting to talk to me and listen to me. So I'm happy. I hope it was interesting and useful and enjoyable. Okay, so I go for 10.